Okay, we're back. We took a quick break. We did this in a little bit of reverse. Usually,
Reverse. I like
yeah. Usually in an interview, you start off with the past and work your way towards the present.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of jumped right into the technical aspect, which I always like to ask questions in that area anyway. So let's the listener know about the industry, not just not just your you're a writer, you're a musician or whatever. Actually know about the industry. So we covered that, and we covered a little bit. We covered about your new show coming up on Prolific Radio.
June 17th at 6 o'clock on prolific.com.
Okay, now let's start off with the past.
Let's dig into the past. Let me make sure my hat is on correctly for the past.
No secrets revealed. Just a little bit about your background.
Sure.
Right off. With writing and poetry,
Yeah.
what do you remember when you first started it? Like actually,
The first poem I ever written.
yeah. Like when was it?
The first poem I ever written was in high school in the 11th grade. I was attending Bronxborough High School in Bronx, New York, and I was in my history class, and I was bored out my mind. And history was one of my favorite subjects, believe it or not. And I was my seat was always by the window for some reason.
Yeah.
And I wrote a song. That was turning into a poem, and I only had one verse, and I was just sitting at the desk, and I accidentally handed it into my history teacher with the quiz that was supposed to be on it. So it was the paper I'm supposed to hand in my quiz doing it,
Yeah.
and on the bottom of the page was the verse I was writing. So when she gave it back to me the next day, she wrote on my paper, I got an 80 on the quiz, and then she gave me an extra 10 points for the poem on the bottom. She was like, wow, you're a great writer, keep it up.
Extra credit.
And I had no idea. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just, sitting in the class, I'm bored, I'm doodling and
Zoning
out.
Yeah.
And handed in the assignment, and she said it back to me. She was like, great job, keep it up. And I didn't even realize it until I read the bottom of it that I had an act for writing. Or I didn't know what it was, basically, at that
Yeah.
time. And that was the first time I ever written something like that.
Okay.
And throughout the years, man, that was like 93, 94. So
God, I feel like a dinosaur.
and ever since then, I've been writing, every emotional event that went on through my life, every instance, every bad decision, good decision, every heartbreak, love, every happiness, sadness, depression, every flower blossoming, everything in my life that I went through over the life.
Real life, basically.
Yeah, since I was a teenager, I've written, and I actually have about 9 to 10 books, manuscripts ready to work and re-edit and put out to the world just throughout the whole journey.
Wow.
Of expressive stuff. So, and Sentiment to Me, the introduction and chapbook, which is available now on Amazon and Google Play, that's just the first one out of the 3-part series, but that's not even part of the 9 books that I have after that. So it's always been there, It's always been there. And
So it's always been a natural talent for you versus learned, essentially.
Yeah, it was very natural for me. I think it's more the sense of because believe it or not, I'm a very emotional person. So for me, it was easy for me to convey that into word.
Okay.
So it was very easy for me to sit down with a piece of paper, or sometimes just in my head. I can
Yeah.
be sitting down in my head and I'm writing something in my head. Or I can look at a painting or visual art and I'm creating something in my head, and I can write a nice poem from that. So
Yeah.
I'm always creating something like that. And I never knew I had to act for it until after that high school thing and that incident, which I just kept doing it. And then every time I went through something or was happy or sad, I was just writing. That's how come one of the things as a social worker I always express to a lot of the kids and some of the adults I work with is always use that outlet for writing. Get a piece of paper, write on the paper, write that
So you use your natural talent. You also use your natural talent. You incorporate it with your actual job also then.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think, like I said, everybody's different in what they do, and there's a lot of great poets and there's a lot of great spoken word artists. I think everybody that does this is great. So that's just me.
Yeah.
I'm always about supporting. So I think when you listen to somebody's story and you listen to their words, it's the most powerful thing that you can do. And same as like with music, that's just powerful to me. So,
Well, a lot of the songs are just basically poetry put to music.
put to music. You're absolutely right, and I'm actually looking to convert some of my poetry into music, hopefully somewhere down the line. So it's the sky is endless. But one of the things about poetry to me, to where I feel like is special to me, because it gave me my creative freedom, and it gave me my voice when I thought I didn't have a voice.
Okay.
When I felt sheltered from that voice. When I was doing everything in the world to try to stay afloat and really didn't know that the voice that I was speaking wasn't my true voice.
Right.
That's what my poetry did to me. It created Michael, if that make any sense.
Yeah.
You know, it gave me that.
Well, most
purpose.
writers, most writers, even musicians and artists in general, I found out that in addition to, especially with the writers and musicians, how we use a pen name that we adopt, it becomes our alter ego almost.
Yeah. I have an alter ego. His name is Mercury. Mercury's my alter ego.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so this is an essential outlet for you, though, as far as writing and poetry goes, though.
I would say that. Yeah, I would.
Because with most
that,
writers,
yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
Even
I would
musicians,
say that.
yeah.
I would say it's an outlet, and the funny thing about it is that it's an outlet that doesn't get boring.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is we do so much tedious things in life, and I think life is just about life. You live, you learn, and you laugh, hopefully. And poetry for me, writing poetry for me, is that it has all those three components in one. And I can be at my lowest, my highest, or the middle, neutral, and that, for me, I can sit down and write it, and right that moment, that's like my coping skill.
Okay.
So I'm able to get through whatever I'm getting through, because now it's on paper.
Yeah.
You know, so it just helps. So it is my outlet.
Okay.
It's my outlet.
Now I'm going to jump back to, as far as the school goes. I jump around a lot.
That's all right. That's all right, Mike. We both share the same name, so.
the way my mind works is, this is why I don't. There's actually, remember I told you I don't plan out an interview. It should be.
That's fine.
The way my mind works is, like, you could answer something, and I'll be like taking the interview in one direction. You'll answer one of my questions, and it'll give me an idea, and all of a sudden we'll go in a totally different.
Totally left.
Yeah, and it's like, instead of trying to fight it, just go with it.
Just go with it. I'm okay with it.
Did you college? Did
Yes.
you continue to pursue writing in college, or was it kind of still like your hobby and your outlet?
A little bit of both. I got my associates in journalism. I went to SUNY Morrisville, upstate New York, and I was on the broadcasting. I was more broadcasting than newspaper or writing in that sense, and I worked at the college radio station. And after I graduated there, I went and pursued my bachelor's and master's in mental health counseling. So throughout that whole process, it was nothing but writing. But I had the opportunity to become a program specialist at the Fresh Air Fund camp in New York for the summer, teaching creative writing right after I graduated from SUNY Morrisville.
Nice.
And I was a camp counselor the year before, a regular camp counselor, and then they invited me back to become the creative writing specialist, and we put together the camp newsletter, and I had the campers doing sports reporting and all kinds of activities, and we put together the Red Eagle and for the whole summer encampment. And I kept always doing things with my writing, and I would always write. So even though I didn't pursue journalism moving further, and because I switched over to mental health, I always wrote. So I would always keep journals. I was always writing on pieces of paper. I always wrote. So every time, like I said, everything I went through is on a piece of paper somewhere. So anytime somebody did me wrong, it's on a piece of paper somewhere. Anytime somebody did me right, it's on a piece of paper somewhere. So that was just me, and I think that it doesn't stop. I think there was a period of time to where I can honestly say, for about almost 2 years, I caught writer's block. I could not get anything out. And I did not understand it. I didn't know where it was coming from. I felt really numb. I felt really stuck. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, I just like that, and
it was like a switch.
It came back.
Yeah.
And I was able to sit down and write again, and it was a beautiful thing. So I don't know. It's a funny thing, that writer's block, but it's very real because I
Yeah.
experienced it.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I've had
very
it where
real.
it's like, that's why it's I'm glad I work on multiple projects, because if I hit block on one, I can just jump to another.
jump to
Then
another one.
and it's like, that project might give me an idea back for the writing or something. So yeah. But what you said about as far as if anybody did something wrong to you, I know a very successful writer of erotica and fiction, Charity Parkerson, and to put it nicely, she said, to quote Charity Parkerson, she said, "Don't mess with a writer, because we'll make you a main character in our next book and we'll kill you off."
Well, then you know what? I kind of agree with that, because
Yeah.
I think the funny thing about it is that you get your inspiration from anywhere. So
Yeah.
sometimes art imitates life. That's the main thing. I gotta agree with that.
And I actually
agree with that.
paraphrased that. I said don't mess with a writer, don't mess with an author, because we know at least a dozen ways to legally get even with you and get away with it. We're the type where we can say the same thing 12 different ways and have it mean 12 different things.
Yeah, because you got to know your copyright laws and your fragmentation, and you got to know the business of it.
Yeah, and you got it along with slander. That always
Gotta
helps
know
too.
that,
So
and get that book insurance
Hint-
just in case. It
yeah,
comes out.
hint, use first names only.
Yeah.
First initial, last name if you're really pissed off. But okay, I can't breathe again.
Because it's so true.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
I'm like crying to tears right here, because I
Yeah.
sit here and I think about some stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, I know the exact moment, feeling, everything of everything I've written, and I can show it, and I'll be like, yeah, I know what I was going through there. I know who inspired me to write that.
You know who pissed you off on that
I know who
one.
pissed me off to do that one. I know who gave me happiness on that poem. So
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of agree with it.
Now
I agree with it.
I have one more question before we're going to wrap this up, just due to people's attention spans in today's world. I'm sorry, we live in a combination of Orwellian and Bradburyan world.
Man, what is it? 6 to 12 seconds?
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. I'm one of my all-time favorites. But one more question.
Sure.
We'll wrap it up with you promoting the hell out of yourself. I always like to end it that way. Now, how important, whether it's poetry, whether it's fiction, any type of writing, or any type of art in general. Actually, two questions. So one more, but.
I was about to say, is this a question? Is this a part A and part B question?
No, this is two totally different ones.
Two-fold question, okay.
Because the second one refers to when you were a camp counselor.
No problem.
But how important is it do you think, if for no one else than yourself, do you think it's important to put yourself, when you're creating a character, do you think most authors and yourself, a part of who you are or what you've experienced always seeps into that, what you're writing? I realize with poetry it does, but we were talking before we started this about creating characters and everything.
Yeah.
Do you think that's actually important? That makes things more believable if you put a part of yourself or what you're experiencing into the characters in the story.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that if whatever type of writer you are, I think if you're writing a short story, like say, and you have certain characters in it, absolutely it should be a part of you in that. I think each character should have a part of you that you that you want to be exposed within, outside of yourself.
Okay.
If that makes any
Yeah.
sense. I think, say if you have three characters, maybe those three characters is three personas that you always wanted to be, and you as a writer, most writers are very introverted people, so there's your superhero.
We create the illusions and hide behind them.
There's your superhero right there. So I think in poetry too, sometimes you can use your idea of how you want to convey your story and get it out. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. I gotta say, it's just an absolute on that one.
Okay, or like even if it's not just another persona, let's just say you went through, I hate to use examples like this, but you were abused as a child by your parent and nobody knows about it, you could put that into your character so that no one would know it actually happened to you, but you could still get your story out. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think you're correct. On a situation like that, when it's
That's just something that
I think from my perspective on a real life situation in the sense of abuse, neglect, domestic violence, I think in that point it's extremely important for that person, that victim, to kind of have their story told in the way they feel comfortable at the time.
Okay.
Because that is their revelation of what they actually went through. And sometimes you read back stories, you read back even poems, you read back something that you created and you relive that. So sometimes you have to be very sensitive when you're writing in the process, I think. But at the same point, it is so much empowerment there.
Yeah,
There's so much empowerment.
Well, what about as far as like when you write it, you almost disassociate yourself with that situation. Are there instances where that could actually help the healing process, like you said about reading it back, and then you almost like there's a possibility where you could look at it from the outside in. That could also help the healing process. Am I correct?
I think that can help it much faster. I can think it'll help the healing process faster.
Okay.
In the sense of, because a lot of times people live in denial, and sometimes I wouldn't say a lot of times people live in denial. I said there's stages of grief. So sometimes people stay in denial a little bit longer than moving on to each stages of grief. And when you're going through experiences like that, you have to move through each stage.
Right.
It doesn't have to necessarily be in order,
right,
but you have to move through each stage to get, to heal, to say that you've forgiven or you forgive yourself. And sometimes it's hard. It's hard for an individual depending on what they're going through in their life. So keep writing. Write that story. Write that feeling down and create that character that's going to give you strength to say, like, you're going to stand up and and you're going to get your you back. And
a long time ago, I don't remember who, I can't tell you who did the original quote. The greatest story you can read is the story of somebody's life.
Yes.
Because it will never be duplicated.
I agree with that.
And even if you think your life is mundane and that nothing happens, I got news for you. It's exciting, whether it's, you didn't know how to deal with the breakup of, like, your best friend was killed when you were a teenager and you didn't know how to deal with it. Trust me, now, final question. Advice to, and I always like to end it this way, advice to other writers and artists in general out there. I always catch people off guard with this one.
Yeah, I'm like, my advice to other writers and poets and creative artists and anybody that has a voice and needed to be heard is, whatever you do, keep doing it and keep moving forward. I mean, write, even if it's on a piece of bathroom tissue, right? Even if it's on a piece of cloth, right? If it's on a piece of chalk, right? If
it's on a touch screen,
right? If you're sitting down at a boring seminar, right? Doodle on a notepad. Be real to yourself in the sense of developing the person that you want to be through paper, and I think that's the easiest way that you can perfect your craft. And same with me, I do the same thing. I always like to learn from different people, so I always inspire from other writers and just to see where their level is at and how to get there, so, and what their creative process is. So my advice to anybody is to just keep writing and keep thinking. Your mind is so powerful. Keep thinking.
And don't be afraid to feel.
And don't be afraid to feel. And that goes for men, women, adults too. Don't be afraid to feel. Don't be afraid to let somebody see your vulnerable side and be expressive, and let somebody see you in a different light than the person that they normally see you, and you'll gain people attention and their confidence in you to create that character. And for all those writers and poets out there, please tune into The Cave at June 17, 2015 at prolific.com radio. And it's definitely a platform for poets and writers in the Lehigh Valley area. So come join me on my radio show, and let's write. Let's get some creative juices going. So,
and what about your book?
I'm plugging everything.
Okay, go for it. I apologize for the interruption.
I'm like, I'm trying to do this in 60 seconds. You can contact me at www.mbjudkins.com, or you can contact me on Facebook /Michael Judkins or Facebook /The Cave. And also check out my book, my first poetry chapbook of the Sentiment to Me series, The Introduction, which is actually out now on Amazon and Google Play Books. One of my poems was actually featured at Asthma Journal international journal overseas. And the book is going strictly go. I just got word yesterday the book is going to be featured at the Poets House in New York in their annual showcase of all poetry books that was released in 2015 from June 25th to August 1st in New York City.
Congratulations.
It would be on showcase that time, so you can go. It's a whole poetry library, so all your poets out there, contact the Poetry House and join that membership and get. It's an avenue for us, and it's a whole library just for poets, which is amazing.
Damn.
So
Never see that in the Lehigh Valley.
Never seen that. But the book Sentiment to Me is going to be featured in the next showcase for 2015, so I'm so excited about that.
Congratulations on all your accomplishments, honestly.
Thank you, and it's more to come. Like it's the first one, and I'm again, like we talked about marketing earlier, and it's just trying to get it out there. So thank you, Valley and Beyond for having me, and I'm sure.
Thank you for your time. I don't know about you, I had a great time. I really had a great time with interviewing you. It was honestly, it was a lot of fun.
You too, man. I think we vibed very well. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right.